Hey, what's going on everybody? This is JellyForSale back again with another video. This time a little different. We're actually going to be covering installing a crank pulley in the FRS. I have since supercharged this FRS since I got it using the Edelbrock kit, and it's been great. However, now I have the Fluidampr pulley and we're gonna install it today. I'll show you guys all the steps you need to do that, and yeah, let's get right started. You're going to want to take it out of the package, inspect it, make sure everything looks good. Next off, you're going to want to take off your airbox and air intake. In my case, I'm supercharged, so it might be a little different than many of you. However, it shouldn't be too much different. It shouldn't be bad. Refer to your manual. Basically, you just want to clear up space to get to the crank pulley, which is located below, in the very front of the motor. So whatever you need to do to get to that, I would recommend using your manual. If you're using the stock air box, it's not hard at all. Of course, you could, if you want to, take off the mass airflow sensor. I didn't in this particular case, but many people do recommend that you do that. So if that's something you want to do just so you don't accidentally mess it up, feel free. Next off, you're going to want to use a breaker bar and a 14mm socket. And what that's going to do is you're going to use that to release the tension on the serpentine belt. Take that off, get that all out of the way. Next up, this is one that people don't always think to do. You're going to want to make sure the car is in 6th gear. You're going to want to use a breaker bar and a 22mm socket to actually release that bolt that's holding on the crank pulley. It is under extreme pressure, so you're really gonna have to fight against it. You're gonna need a full breaker bar and a good amount of work. I didn't even show half of the battle that I went through while getting that off in this video, but just know it seriously is it's under a lot of pressure, and it does make a lot of horrible noises. Next, you take off the pulley itself. It's not on with any kind of pressure or heat treated on or seized on. You're just going to be able to pull it right off. What you will have to be careful about, however, is the O-ring that seals that on. Make sure that's in there properly. I had a lot of trouble with this O-ring right here. It takes a while to make sure it's on there properly. If it doesn't pop out, you can just leave it in, but otherwise I would definitely make sure that you get that on there perfectly right. It doesn't really want to go into the slot very well, and I really struggled in this part. Next, you're just going to want to take the FRS crank pulley, locate the set pin, I will call it, and because that needs to line up with the same thing on the crank itself. So just line that up. It probably won't take you more than a couple of tries. It's not too difficult, but make sure that's lined up and then place it on. Next, this is somewhat optional, but I would strongly recommend take some Loctite and use the blue. That way it's not too strong in there, but coat the bolt in that way if you ever want to take it out again, you can, but it will also keep the bolt itself from vibrating out. I recommend this only because it just seemed like something that you should really do, especially on a part so important. Now you're going to want to reinsert that, of course. Just make sure you don't cross the threads. Take your time. It's a long bolt, so there are a lot of threads on it. And just get that in there pretty hand tight, and then you're going to want to crank it down to about 100 foot-pounds. That's about torque spec. I believe torque spec is 98. Once again, leave it in 6th gear while you're doing this, only because otherwise it will not, the crank pulley itself will actually move against you much more than it is right now. Even in reverse, it will not have the same effect. Next, you're going to want to reinstall the serpentine belt. It's a little more complicated. In my case, I think I have one extra pulley I have to work with, but it's a different belt than the normal car would have. So refer to your manual or pictures online. There's great diagrams online of how to put the belt back on. Just take your time with this step. It can be tricky, and sometimes you'll think you have it right, and then if you don't double check, you're actually going to have it wrong. And if there's anything you really want to get right on the first try, I would say it's the crank pulley itself and then the serpentine belt. So really be careful when it comes to ensuring that you have it all right. Getting the final piece on is not easy. You guys can see I'm having a little bit of trouble here. But what I would say is don't get mad. Just take your time. You will get it. Just really make sure that you double check and even triple check the diagram versus what you did to the car itself. Alright, next I'm putting my airbox back on. This is the Edelbrock kit again, so it's probably most likely very different than your setup. Even a cold air intake would be different than the stock original airbox. So depending on what progression into your build you're starting from, your instructions may vary at this step, but just refer to your own manual. Basically, you're just putting the car back together. Once this step is done, congratulations, you are officially done. Just make sure you know everything looks right. Look over all the bolts, look over your belt again, of course. Make sure everything seems right, all your bolts are tight. And after that, you are officially done and you can start her up. Sounds good to me. This pulley does severely help with vibrations, and that's really important to me. It makes the car, it's it's noticeably smoother than the stock pulley is as far as when you get into higher RPMs, and they even claim it adds horsepower. So it's definitely worth doing if you've been looking for something to do to your car, but you don't want something too in-depth or difficult. Alright, that's it guys. Thank y'all for watching. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Alright, take care.